Tonight, the feds make a flurry of pre-election pledges that hit home in the GTA.
This is just a huge relief. The stakes are so high. They're here trying to protect their kids. They've been at danger at home.
Among the announcements, a one-time legal aid top-up for refugee and immigration cases slashed in the last provincial budget. Plus, a man fighting for his life in hospital tonight after a suspected home invasion in Markham. And
we've only seen the demand grow and not shrink every single year. And so I think there's still lots of space.
A new report says Toronto is home to the most breweries in Canada. And insiders say we are thirsty for more. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. The Prime Minister sending a lifeline to many legal aid clinics tonight, coming up with money to partially offset cuts made by the provincial government earlier this year. As Kelda Yoon tells us, while some are welcoming the news, others are questioning the timing.
The Prime Minister all smiles at the Parkdale Legal Clinic today, not only restoring funding for some legal aid service.
The reality is we shouldn't be having to make this announcement.
He also got to point the finger at the provincial government.
Yet another Conservative government, the government of Doug Ford, is walking away from services to the most vulnerable. Is really frustrating.
In April, the PCs cut Legal Aid Ontario's budget by $133 million, including funding for refugee and immigration law services. That's what the federal government is now restoring with today's money. It's just a one-time deal, but legal aid lawyers will take it.
This is just a huge relief.
Erin Simpson says she and other refugee lawyers have been working tirelessly, including doing a lot of pro bono work since the cuts to help their clients.
We had multiple clients who were getting ready for refugee hearings and having this panic of not having representation in the hearing.
Mary Burdell is happy to hear about the new funding for refugee cases, but is still worried about the many others affected by the overall cuts.
There are tens of thousands of other people not accessing legally aided services because of the cuts that have happened. And for those people, this news doesn't help them, but it is a tremendous advantage for the people who will get services now.
The province is calling today's announcement disappointing. It maintains the refugee system is a federal responsibility. Ontario's Attorney General also calls Trudeau's timing suspicious.
It's unfortunate that it comes and had to wait several months, and yet only a few months before an election.
Meanwhile, Simpson thinks both governments need to step up.
It ought to be a shared responsibility. We don't think the province should be let off the hook.
Trudeau says his government will be holding talks to make sure there is a long-term solution. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
That funding announcement, just one of many announcements today. Among them, nearly $1.8 million for early childhood development projects in the GTA, plus money to help tackle gun violence. All three levels of government actually coming together on that one. $4.5 million for Toronto Police. Since a civic holiday-long weekend, a series of 20 shootings have injured more than a dozen people. In a statement today, Mayor John Tory said the money will, quote, support police efforts to help communities keep communities safe and to help redouble efforts to prevent criminal activity and combat the activities of street gangs. And we're hearing from Police Chief Mark Saunders in a statement today. He says, we know that most gun violence in Toronto is directly connected to street gang activity. The Toronto Police Services has a comprehensive plan to address the issues we're facing. I will launch the services plan in the coming days, and we will continue to work with our communities to reduce gun violence in our city. And police in York Region looking into a suspected daylight home invasion that has a man fighting for his life in hospital tonight. York police say just before 2 o'clock, they got a call about two masked men who had entered a house. When they arrived at a home on Boxwood Crescent, that's near Markham Road and 14th Avenue, they found a man who'd been shot. He was rushed to hospital where he remains tonight. Police say two male suspects fled the scene in a dark-colored vehicle. And the investigation continues into a fatal crash on Highway 401 in Mississauga last night. This is the mangled remains of a transport truck being removed from the scene. Two people were killed and the highway was shut down until around noon today while crews cleaned up. The OPP says the three-vehicle crash was the result of a chain reaction after a red Corvette traveling eastbound in the collector lanes made an unsafe lane change and hit a transport truck, causing it to veer into a silver Mazda. The Mazda crashed into the concrete wall and the truck rolled over the median into the express lanes and went up in flames. The accident injured 3 other people, but they've since been released from hospital. Bianca Andreescu is still relishing her big win yesterday at the Rogers Cup. In fact, she's withdrawn from a tournament this week in Cincinnati. Rafael Nadal, the winner of the men's title, is doing the same. But the talk of the tennis world tonight remains about her big win over Serena Williams. Greg Ross spoke with some younger players, even younger than Andreescu, who are taking inspiration from her win.
They are the next generation of Canadian tennis hopefuls, competing at the same club that Bianca Andreescu was once a member, and the same tournament that she won as a 15-year-old back in 2015.
But now 4 years later, she's winning the Rogers Cup. I mean, what goes through your mind when you think about it?
Well, it's really cool to see another Canadian having that success, and now we get to train at the same place she trained at with the same coaches, and it's inspiring to see her doing so well.
15-year-old Mia Kupras and 14-year-old Marina Stakuzic have both been invited to the National Training Center in Montreal starting in September, the same place Andreescu trains now.
If we're like on the same path, maybe it could happen. Hopefully.
They say they're not only inspired by her success on the court, but also the way she handles herself off of it, something we saw a glimpse of in Sunday's final. Wow. A candid moment caught on camera. The veteran Williams wiping away tears after being forced to withdraw while being consoled by the 19-year-old Andreescu. Many of these young players were watching.
I thought it was very professional for her to come in and support her.
But it's nothing new to Issa Juno, who's been coaching Andreescu for the last 2 years.
Were you surprised to see Bianca do that?
No, really. She's got that care for people. That's one thing that impressed me the most when I started working with her. She makes you feel like you're part of the team right away. And that's something that I think we connect really well.
And it's one of the big reasons she's a hit with many of these younger players. Many have had their own experiences with her.
I hit with her once and she was just having a regular conversation, I guess. I could say that I hit with a Rogers Cup champion, Indian Wells champion. It's cool.
If only these young players could have the same meteoric rise that Andreescu has had. Just to put it into perspective, going into last summer, she was 182nd in the world rankings. When the latest rankings came out today, she had moved up to 14th. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette Kennedy's here with the first look at the forecast. So clearing skies tonight for the GTA, but rain elsewhere in the province.
Yeah, that's right. It's not going to be a dry trend absolutely everywhere, and it's really crucial in terms of the tracking of the system that's going by. So if it shifts just a little further north, there could be some heavy rains towards southwestern Ontario in the Windsor, Chatham-Kent region, and that's why there is a special weather statement where it could be 25 to 50 millimeters. I think it'll probably stay just a little further south, so that's more in that 15 to 20 or 25 millimeter range. Midweek, we get into some cooler air that's going to be moving in, so highs 23, 24 degrees. We'll show you that in the 5-day a little later in the show, but at the end of the week we are looking at sunshine and the temperatures starting to ride back up towards the weekend. So a look at that activity towards southwestern Ontario. Now just keep in mind there may be some extra cloud cover as well from Hamilton around towards St. Catharines, and a slight chance for some showers there into the morning hours. The greater risk though into southwestern Ontario, and not only that, but seeing some afternoon showers or even a few thunderstorms popping up there. We should stay drier towards the GTA and even get into some decent sunshine through the day. Into Wednesday, still looking that volatility to the southwest, but looks good towards the GTA and even beyond. In terms of what we have for our temperatures overnight tonight, we're looking at a low around 18 degrees, so above seasonal. And then tomorrow, 26 degrees and looking for a good amount of sunshine, as I say, into the afternoon especially, Mike.
Forward to that. Okay, thanks, Colette.
You got it.
Well, there's one more day of voting for what could be a Labour first in Canada. Bike couriers for the food delivery app Foodora have until tomorrow to decide whether or not to join the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Now, if they do, they would create Canada's first certified bargaining unit for app-based employees. Philippe de Montagnier tells us what's at stake for the couriers and why Foodora wants them to say no.
Brice Sofer picks up and delivers meals to customers through Foodora. After working for the popular app for 4 years, he decided it was time to join a union.
Have a good day.
You too, thanks. Yeah.
Couriers get $4.50 per delivery plus $1 per kilometer, but only for the travel between the restaurant and the customer.
We're not paid for the distance that we have to travel to pick up the delivery. So what that means is that for maybe 50% of the time that we're working, that work is not paid.
He says there's also no safety protections or compensation.
There's a lot of times where I've been injured or my bike has been damaged. When I've had to repair my bike and pay for data on my phone, you realize that the amount you're getting paid really isn't that much when you have to deduct, the amount of expenses.
Couriers in Toronto and Mississauga have until noon Tuesday to decide on whether to join Canada's postal union. But organizing app-based workers has been a bumpy road.
If we succeed on it, it will create a precedent. And
CUPW Vice President Jean-Philippe Grenier believes a successful outcome could be a watershed moment for the gig economy. Foodora claims that a union cannot guarantee better work conditions and members would have to pay dues up to $1,100 a year, and is encouraging its couriers to vote against joining the union, sending emails and push notifications directly through the app. CUPW filed a complaint to Ontario's Labour Board.
They use their apps for deliver the information on their apps. I think that it's unfair, and the other thing, they provide the wrong information.
In a statement, the company told CBC Toronto, "We don't believe that our couriers need a union to effect change. Foodora has always had an open-door policy for couriers to drop by any time to discuss their challenges or issues with us." The company says it will honor voting couriers' choices, regardless of the outcome. Philippe de Montigny, CBC News, Toronto.
If you're one of many Canadians who's turned to Home Depot for home renovations, one Mississauga woman is warning that it could go off the rails. She spent $27,000 on an accessible bathroom renovation she says was botched. And months later, she's still waiting for a fix from Home Depot. I'm Lauren Pelly, and all of that story coming up.
A new development in a fatal stabbing case in Brampton. Peel police releasing a composite sketch of a person they think may have stabbed a man after he confronted some would-be car thieves. Police say this is what the suspect looks like. He's wanted in the death of 63-year-old Glenbert Oliver. Police say in the early hours of August 2nd, he and his son were at their home on Landbrook Drive when they saw a group of men breaking into vehicles on their street. They confronted the thieves, and both father and son were both stabbed. Police also released a picture of the kind of vehicle the men were seen fleeing in. It's a dark-colored, possibly gray Lexus RX 350, model year 2010 to 2015. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. For more than 5 months, a Mississauga car crash survivor has been living with a botched bathroom renovation. She paid Home Depot close to $30,000 for an accessible bathroom, but she says the walk-in tub installed by a third-party contractor caused major water damage in her home. As Lauren Pelly shows us, the busted bathroom has derailed her rehabilitation efforts, and she's calling on Home Depot to find a fix.
This shouldn't go like this. When it closes, see, it opens because it's not leveled.
Dejana Cambic has spinal cord damage from a car crash 6 years ago. She hoped this therapeutic tub would help ease her chronic pain and bring her life closer to the way it was before.
Washing my hair was difficult because I need help sometimes, but this way it would make me independent, so I can walk into the bathtub, sit and wash my hair and be independent.
Why does that matter so much to you?
Because I was independent at one time.
More than 5 months later, she can't actually use the tub. A shoddy installation led to leaking and water damage in the living room below.
Right up there, that's the bulkhead. And that was before, when the tub was installed at first, the bulkhead had lifted and there was marks all over the ceiling.
Cambic says there's also a strange headache-inducing smell. She's running multiple air purifiers to keep it at bay.
I feel like I'm back 10 steps, and I just thought that this was going to help me and I was going to progress.
Cambic paid Home Depot roughly $27,000 to renovate the bathroom and install the tub through a third-party contractor. 2 outside inspectors told her that installer botched the job. The contractor's faulty workmanship led to many defects and caused the unit to fail, reads one report from a restoration company. While a plumbing specialist wrote, "I went through the warranty checklist and found 5 things that I can definitely say were not checked."
I don't even believe that this is happening. Like, I thought, calling them in, they would do the right thing and fix it.
In an email, Home Depot told us there's a team working to make sure Cambic is satisfied, but they didn't tell us how or when. The company also didn't respond to our questions about how they hire third-party contractors.
Lawyers do hear about these issues on a fairly regular basis.
This labor lawyer says renovations get more complicated when there's a middleman.
You end up in a situation where, you may have the parties pointing at each other, in terms of who's at fault if something goes wrong.
Experts recommend documenting any renovation issues, which Cambic did. But even with evidence in hand, she's still waiting for a fix.
I'm dealing with so much right now, financially I'm not stable right now, especially with what I'm going through. So yes, it's very disappointing.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Mississauga.
If it seems like Toronto has a lot of breweries these days, that's because apparently we really do. And your report says that compared to other Canadian cities, it's not even close. I'm Nick Boisvert, and coming up, we'll look at those numbers and talk about how much more the market can handle.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
We know that Torontonians love their beer, and now a new report is confirming that. It says the GTA is home to the most breweries in Canada, soaring past places like Montreal and Vancouver. Nick Boisvert has more on those numbers and examines why the city, or whether the city, is reaching a saturation point.
Today, it's a work in progress. By Labor Day, this will be Toronto's newest craft brewery.
This is going to be the home of Beaches Brewing Company, and it's going to be a brew pub, our bricks and mortar site for the brand. There's so many.
Carl Pratt started the company 5 years ago when the craft beer scene was booming. 5 years later, he says the wave is still going strong.
I think it's going to make sense because there's quite a lot of demand for it. Even still, no one's really worried about competition or anything yet because we all have our niches.
But the city's craft beer scene is getting more crowded every year. And according to Stats Canada, Toronto's market has shot past all competition. The latest data says Toronto is home to nearly 170 breweries and wineries per 1,000 square kilometers. That's more than twice the number in Montreal and more than 3 times Vancouver's market.
Can you keep track of all the breweries that are coming out of Toronto that you come across?
No. We've been talking to the bartenders here, and they're telling us stuff we've never heard of.
There is a ton, though, that's for sure. There's absolutely a ton of them.
There's a lot.
The founder of Left Field Brewery says the Stats Canada numbers are interesting, but at this point, there's a better comparison to make.
If you look at places like Oregon in the United States, they're at 40% market share of craft beer, and it's just something that we haven't really seen any slowdown in the growth numbers on.
In Ontario, the craft industry makes up about 10% of the total beer market.
We've only seen the demand grow and not shrink every single year, and so I think there's still lots of space. If you're doing it well and you're delivering on what the beer drinker wants, there's lots of space.
No one knows just how much more room there is, but Ontario's Craft Beer Industry Group expects their market share to double within the next 5 years. Nick Boisvert, CBC News, Toronto.
There's no way I could show you all the highlights from tonight's Jays game against the Texas Rangers. Toronto up 2-1 in the third. Justin Smoke hits a 2-run shot to the right field bullpen right there. Next batter up, Randall Grichuk. Well, he hits a bomb to left center, his 21st homer of the year. That would normally be enough to win, but the Jays weren't done. It's 9-1 in the fourth inning. Brendan Drury breaks this game wide open with a grand slam home run. Everyone in the lineup got at least one hit today as the Jays hammered the Rangers 19-4. That's right, I said 19-4. Colette's back with her extended forecast. I was talking to my daughter this morning over breakfast. We realized the CNE opens on Friday. It's usually that sign that the summer is coming to an end, but Mother Nature has her own signs that summer is coming to an end this week as well.
Yeah, Mike, we're going to get into some days where the temperature is just cool enough that it starts to remind you fall's not that far off. But that's okay. It's going to be kind of a few days towards mid-end week, and then the temperatures will be coming up for the weekend as we get towards the CNE. So nobody panic yet about this. 21 degrees, that was at 6 a.m. this morning, and then by noon all the way up towards 27. And not only that, as the temperature rose through the day, we still had the humidity, so mid-30s in terms of the humidex. So we still got some of that heat with us. Showers, thunderstorm risk, southwestern Ontario, not just overnight tonight, but into tomorrow. And I mentioned the special weather statement a little bit earlier, where if this rides just a little further north or locally with some of these storms, you could see some areas getting 25 to 50 millimeters of rain. Otherwise, it will be lesser amounts there. We get into some drier conditions through the GTA, kind of the clouds changing at times, but a decent amount of sunshine for Tuesday. And into Wednesday, still some of that volatility for southwestern Ontario, but elsewhere looking at a nice clearing trend and things looking pretty good. It'll be late Thursday that again we'll find for the GTA after that late Thursday that the next chance for showers will kind of roll in here. All right, overnight tonight, 19 to 20 degrees in southwestern Ontario, and then Highs tomorrow, 26 to 28. Those winds getting a little gusty. That'll start even earlier in the day, but carrying on into the afternoon hours. Overnight tonight, 18 to 19 for St. Catharines. A little extra cloud cover. You'll keep the temperature up a tiny bit through those regions. And then 25 for the high in Hamilton, but 26 for Mississauga and Toronto and Oshawa, seeing temperatures around 26 degrees. This is how it looks, though, with that cooler shot of air that's coming Wednesday, Thursday. So Wednesday, 24. And then Thursday, and again, it's not till the late evening, overnight. Right now, it looks like the timing of those rain showers moving in, but the high just 23 degrees, and we'll have a cooler overnight low heading into Friday, so almost seasonal. Seasonal is actually a little lower than that even. Friday, 26, temperatures starting to come back up, 27. On Saturday, humidity starting to come back up a little bit too, and then late on Saturday, we'll get into another chance for some showers, and that's why I put that probability of precipitation at 30% for Saturday, Mike.
In May, we would have loved a 23, but in August, I'm looking forward to that 27 again.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, it's not too late if you want to get a glimpse of the Perseid meteor shower. The light show will hit its peak tonight through tomorrow morning. It's predicted that 80 streaks of light an hour will flash through the sky. The Perseid meteor shower is an annual event that happens when the Earth passes through debris left behind by Comet Swift-Tuttle. I had a great time spotting them last year. This summer, though, it's more difficult. Even if you get away from the city lights, you're competing with an almost full moon lighting up the skies. Best time to view them is around 3 or 4 a.m. after the moon sets. I can't stay up that late. I've got to be back here tomorrow night at 11. We'll leave you now with pictures, though, of Penelope, the pygmy hippo. She is celebrating her first birthday at the Toronto Zoo this week. Good night.